How's it going, my friends? Yeah, today we're going to get started on working on our mech panels. The first one we're going to do, of course, is the bottom. Let's see, the first episode we went over the machine and everything that we needed to do. And then the second one we did the cabinet. Cleaned up the cabinet and everything and got it ready. So now all we have to do is start cleaning our mech panels, and we'll be able to start putting everything back together. Now on these mech panels, it's easy to just do it, kind of systematically instead of trying to jump all over the place and do things. Just start with one. We'll do the score motor first, and then we'll do our stepper unit. There's only one stepper unit on this bottom mech, and then we'll do all of our relays and leaf switches on the relays. We'll get them all cleaned up, and my battery's flashing. And then we'll clean all the Jones plugs. We'll check our fuses, make sure our fuses are the right ones and the fuses are good. And we'll clean those Jones plugs. We'll do all the Jones plugs at one time, and then we'll do all the Jones plugs that go into the back box. And see, we have our 5 amp slow blow main fuse here, and then we have our three here. We have the 25 volt fuse, which is for our solenoids. Got our play board, the playfield lights, and the box lights. And the 25 volt 15 amp should run all of our switches as well. So we'll get that all taken care of, because all of our solenoids are 25 volt on this system, so hence the 25 volt fuse. So we'll get that all cleaned up, and we'll be ready to put this one back in. So I'll get you set up, and the first thing we're going to do is, like I said, we'll start with the score motor and we'll get it all cleaned up. Now on the Gottlieb style of score motors, these are the kind of the flat rotary, where the Bally's and the Williams are a kind of a long bank, this way, where the Gottliebs are just a flat pancake style with all your switches around it. And all we're going to be doing is we're just going to clean all these switches, and we'll be checking them as we clean them. On these, you can see these pins that are on top here. There's pins on the top, and then there's little teeth down here on the bottom that open and close switches. And there's also these cutouts on the wheel that also open and close switches. When the score motor turns, these pins will hit these switches and either close them or open them. And what you need to do is just kind of check and see if it's actually closing when it's supposed to be closing, and then open when it's supposed to open. Same with the cutouts. When it hits the cutouts, the little lever down here falls in and either opens or closes. Most of the time it closes when it falls in. And same thing, you're just going to clean the switches, and make sure that they're opening when they're supposed to and closing when they're supposed to. Like this one should be closed, and when it comes back up to the top, it'll open it. Now this one here, there's a make and break, what they call a make and break switch. Right now it's closed. The small one, the big one is closing it. Nope, that's not a make and break. Sorry about that. Let me see if I can find the make and break on here, if there is one. I don't think there is. These are all just open. But anyway, on a make and break switch, like on here, when it hits this opening, it will close one side of the switch, and then when it comes up, it'll open that side of the switch and close on the other side of the switch. That's a make and break switch. If I find one, I'll show you I'll show you what it looks like. All it is you have one little one in the middle, and then two big ones on either side of it. That's one style of make and break. The other style is just you have one big one in the middle and two little ones on either side, where it'll hit that side and close. It's called the make. And then when it goes, it'll open. That's called the break, and it'll close on the other side. Okay, and then on this score motor, you take this little hairpin out, and you can flip him up out of the way, or up, and you can take a look at your little gearbox down here on the bottom. You can put a little bit of oil on each one of these shafts going down into the bushing. There's a bushing down inside this bottom plate, so you want to put a little bit of oil so it runs down in that bushing. On this one, there's 1, 2, 3. There's 3, and here's your motor. You can put a little bit right there on that center, that hole right there, to oil the shaft for the motor. If you can run a little bit of oil all the way down to the inner shaft down there, and that'll oil up this whole mech, this whole wheel on top. It just helps it so it'll move a little easier, and it's not dragging. It'll work better. So I'll get busy and I'll get all these switches cleaned up. These ones, it's just, let me get you set up here. You can use two different, I have a file that I use at times for some of the harder ones, and then you can get this flex. It's kind of like just a hunk of sandpaper on a strip of sandpaper. You know, you just put that in between your switch and clean the switch up. Clean those two contacts up. It's time consuming and a little tedious, but it's got to be done. So like I said, I'll get busy and I'll get all these cleaned up, and then we can move on to our stepper unit, which is going to be, I think, a little more intense because that thing's all stiff and won't even move. Now we got this all cleaned up, and got the little gearbox underneath oiled. So now let's move on to the stepper unit. Let's see what we have to do to it to get it squared away. It's really dirty, that's for sure. And we got to re-sleeve the coils in it. So let's, first of all, this is the coin. Oops. Just went to wipe it off. It's the coin unit. This is the coin unit here. And I think that's why the coin door was unplugged, was because this is all gummed up. And when they plugged it in, it probably just kept on racking up games. Or it was just sitting there going, This one's a little different. Let me get it up off of the board here and get it flipped over so we can take a look at it. and see what we need to do to it. And I got the screws out of it. There's 4 screws that hold this down, and we're gonna flip him over, and we need to take this top plate off here, and as you can see, it's adjustable, so you don't want to lose the adjustment on it. So what I normally do is I will outline it. So I know how to put that back on and get it adjusted right. Because obviously it must have been working okay, because that's where it's at. Gottliebs are a little different than the Bally's. Take her retainer off, and there she is. Now see, what we have to do is we have to clean these protrusions here. A couple of them aren't. Should spring back. We got a couple of them right here that aren't springing all the way back, so we need to address that. And we have our little contacts here that need to be cleaned. They're pretty shiny already, but we'll polish them up a little bit more. Now I'm using 1000 grit sandpaper on these. And you're gonna hear some people tell you that they use Scotch-Rite, a Scotch-Rite pad, sandpaper, and they'll use a little file. Hell, I don't care if you lick them. All you need to do is get them polished up so they make really good contact with our pins. And we'll put a little bit of dielectric grease on it. It just protects it from tarnishing, and it makes it move along there a little smoother. Don't get too happy with the grease. And grease is the same thing. You're going to hear a lot of people say they use CV joint grease and this and that. And all I know is the dielectric grease has no graphite or anything like that in it. So there's nothing in it that's going to conduct electricity across the board. It's weird. Dielectric grease will conduct electricity, but yet it won't follow it. You know, the contacts will make contact through the grease, but it won't jump from pin to pin. It's weird, but that's just the way it is. Now I got a little bit of funk on these. It looks like I don't know, like maybe there's some old grease, like somebody greased them or something. I'm gonna take a little contact cleaner, get that up, and I'm just gonna spray down through there. And kind of work them and see if I could get them to free up. Might be a little corrosion down inside those pins. It could be a little bit of old dry grease. And so I'm just going to work them back and forth. Put a little pressure from side to side on them. If there is a little bit of crap on them, crap on, crap on, crap off, the crapper. And see if I can just get them to kind of clean themselves up. Make sure you don't wipe your mark off, your outline. Much gooder. Oh yeah. Okay, let's see, and while we're here, let's take a peek here. The shaft's pretty loose, so we don't have, that's not where we're gummed up at. Okay, I think it's our mech. The mechanism on the other side that's all gummed up. We'll get after that too once we get this squared away. Okay, I didn't think those were used, but they are. These rivets up top here are used by that other one. So we get those cleaned up. A little bit of Wiener slide on it. Now we can put her back on. I thought you'd sit there. Okay, screwing driver. And like I said, see, that'll, you can screw that up. But if you mark it and put it right back where it was, oops. There. Alright, let's see if we can get this thing freed up. Let's see what its agony is as far as why it's gummy. Let me put that down under it like so, and then I am going to take my contact cleaner and see if I can't loosen up some of this old grease that somebody's got on it. Trying not to get any on your coils. Still won't turn it on its own. Let's see if we can't wash out some more of this old grease. I hate when people oil stepper units. No telling what type of oil they used. That should come down and hook. Dang. Get him out of the way. Along with that, there we go. Alright, I think we got it. Yes, computer. Okay, now all I need to do is clean these two switches and put a couple sleeves in it, and our coin unit stepper will be ready to go. You've watched me do coil sleeves and clean switches, so I'll just go ahead and I'll get those replaced, and then we can move on to our big bank of relays. Okay, all cleaned up. Sleeves and the coils, clean the switches, and now it works. So now let's move on to, get over there. Let's move on to these relays. All these switches. Okay, now on these, you know, you think to yourself, God, how are you going to get down in there to clean all of those? Well, there's a hairpin back here, and all you do, if you pull that hairpin out, I call them hairpins, I don't care what anybody else does, it's just me. You can lift these right up out of there, and then you can clean them. It's the easiest way on these Gottliebs. They made it so easy, and they just slide back down in. There's a little tab right here, it hooks down in there, and you push it back and slide your hairpin back in, and you're ready to go. So we have a bunch of them here. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. We got 16 sets of relay leaf switches to clean up. Now, some of them only have one, like that one. And some of them have doubles. Some of them are just a stack of 3. And right out there on the end, as I was trying to explain to you earlier, this one right here is a make or break switch. Right now, see, it's closed on this side, which is make, and then when the coil sucks in, it breaks and makes the other side. That is a make and break. I'm glad I did find one, so at least I could tell you. And let's see, and then we have one first ball relay is kind of a goofy relay. When I get down to it, when I pull it up out of there, I'll show you it. But okay, now I'll get started cleaning all these switches, and then all we'll have left to do is to check our fuses and our Jones plugs, and the bottom mech panel will be ready to go back in. Another good thing to do while you're cleaning these is to check your screw here to see if it's tight enough. See if it's tight and holding the coil in place so you don't get a when you turn it on. For example, that one, I just touched it with the screwdriver and the head broke right off of it. And you can tell, can you? Come on, focus up. Stop looking over there. You can tell that that's been broke. There was just a wee little bit holding that screw in place, and in fact I think the corrosion and the rust was holding it together more than anything. So now we got to get that screw out of there and replace it. And see, it's a good thing now that you check it now before you put it in and the screw falls, the head pops off of it, and then it sits there and goes, and you have to there, and then you have to hang over the inside of it and fix it. This way, when it's sitting here, take care of all your problems first while it's sitting here. Then hopefully you don't have many problems that you have to screw around with inside the cabinet. You may still have a few dirty switches because you're going to clean them, but every now and then you clean them all, and then you still have one that wants to be a problem child, and you'll still have one now and then that'll be misadjusted. I mean, you look at them, you study them, they look good, it looks like it's moving, looks like it's touching, but wrong answer, it's not. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're cleaning and working on these. Yeah, those are all finished up. I got them all cleaned. Everything looked good. There was a couple switches that weren't opening, so we got that taken care of. Just adjusted those two a little bit. All the other ones were opening when they should and closing when they should. And like I was saying, on the interlock relays, let me grab my pliers. This is the last ball relay. Let go. And this is an interlock relay. As you can see, it has two coils. And this is the last ball, because on the last ball, there's usually a few other things the game has to do, like turn on certain lights, or 100 point for pop bumpers, or double bonus, or whatever. So what it does is this coil will pull down and turn everything on for your last ball that it's supposed to, and it locks it. This coil, this little lever here, locks it in place. That way that coil is not running, doesn't have power to it all the time. It can just pull down and it'll lock. Then after the ball is over, like the end of the game, this will release and it'll come back up and turn off everything that was supposed to have turned on for the last ball. There's 3 of these on here. There's the last ball, the reset control relay, and first ball. Same thing, there's certain things that the machine has to do on first ball and last ball. So instead of a coil being turned on all the time, it'll just lock in the on position and turn the coil off. That way you're not using power to that coil and burning up, putting a lot of heat on that coil, like a reset, or not a reset relay, the hold relay. I don't know if this one has a hold relay. Yep, there. Well, that's tilt hold. There's the hold relay. And I don't know if you can see down in there without me actually pulling it out. You can see how brown the coil is. Well, when you turn the machine on, this one pulls in and stays turned on until the power's shut off, and then it comes out. That would have been probably a good idea if they would have put an interlock on that one too. But when you turn the power off, how's it going to turn it off? Because it can't send power to the other coil to open it up. So that one has to be on all the time. But on these, the first ball and last ball, they don't have to be. And the reset relay, this one, it'll pull in and lock. It'll reset everything, and then the other coil kicks it and turns the rest of turns the reset back off. So now what we have left to do is we need to clean our Jonesies. I'm jonesing for some coffee. Clean the female Jones and the male Jones on the whole board. We have some up here. That's for our coin door. This one, what's W relay adjustments. I don't know what W means. And then you have first and second shoot. This will determine how many games you get for a quarter, or a dime, or a nickel. And you can also turn the score motor off. Why? I don't know. That always puzzled me, and I was never curious enough to find out why. And we'll check our fuses. Check our fuses, make sure they're all good and they're at the right amperage for what's supposed to be in there, and then we'll be ready to put this back down in. Alright, everything's all cleaned on it. All the switches, all the fuses are right. Fuse holders were cleaned, all the Jonesies are plugged. All the Jonesies are plugged? Okay, we plugged the Jonesies. Cleaned all the Jonesy plugs, females and males. The female for the coin door. Score motor's done. Steppers all freed up and working right. Coils resleeved. All the relays and switches are all cleaned up and ready to go. So the whole bottom panel is ready to put back down in. So now it's on to something else. Now it's on to the back box panel, which I'll be spending a little more time on it because there's a lot more to do on it. Since it's a 4-player, we have, what do we got, 16 score reels to clean. So I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it for you. So until next time, yeah, you got it right this time. See ya.